All right, welcome in. Cube Show podcast, college football podcast, brought to you each and every week by Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. Today, we're going to talk some transfer players into the SEC. We're going to go skill positions, top 5 skill positions as of today coming into the Southeastern Conference. Going to break down 5 players for you. We've watched the film. We've checked them out. We like the fits. So don't just think about statistics or who's going to put up the biggest year as far as numbers, but who is going to make their teams better? Who's the all-around best fit for these teams that's going to go in and be the best as far as making everybody around them better and making the offense be able to operate at a different clip? You know, we're brought to you by Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. Go to wicklespickles.com. If they don't have these things at your grocery store, you should just ask them today, like, why do you not have these in your grocery store? We love Wickles Pickles. We snack on them. They are the best. They sponsor the show at Wickles Pickles on Instagram. Go check out some of the recipes, different ways that you can use them. And you can snack on them, have around the house all the time, just like we do in our house. Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious. And go order a t-shirt, a hat. You got also the pickleball set that you can go get right there at wicklespickles.com. All right, top 5 transfer players coming into the SEC. So we've had some back and forth about different players that are coming in, going out. Different players are going to make an impact. I know there are certain rankings with different services of who they say is number 1, number 2 out of the portal, whatever. Some of this is difficult to go get a read on because there are certain guys that hadn't played a lot of football at all. Maybe they were a highly rated prospect coming out of high school, 4-star, 5-star, and now everybody think that just carries over. But we hadn't seen them play a lot of college football just yet. So I went and got a couple of guys that are coming in that might not be in the top 5, top 10 of some people's, transfer portal rankings of who's coming into the SEC. And we're going to go through those guys, and we're going to give you an idea of exactly what they are, what they look like. And you tell me right off the bat what you guys think. You guys have been great in the comments. You guys have always given me your honest opinions. So I want to see it again here. These are just my top 5 skill position players coming into the Southeastern Conference that I think are going to do the most damage as far as helping their teams, their offenses operate, and then they'll being able to go out and possibly win more football games. So here we go. No reason to beat around the bush. Let's just get right into it. There are going to be players we leave out that you are mad about. Something we throw in maybe you're mad about. We can discuss all that later. All right, number 5 is Noah Thomas, 6'6", 200-pound wide receiver from Texas A&M going over to Georgia. I think if you were just talking about Noah Thomas versus some of the other receivers coming in this situation, you'd probably say, well, I like this guy better. I like this guy better. You might like Isaiah Horton a little bit better. You might like Horatio Fields a little bit better. That's fine, whatever. But I think when you look at what Georgia needs, let's specifically go back to last year when Colby Young in the lineup and then out of the lineup. And they had sort of that deep threat, that 50-50 ball guy that could hurt you down the field, how it changed how defenses covered them and how the coverages that they played were either effective or not effective. I don't think Georgia's going to have any issue with having guys that can hurt you quickly. They're going to have a good group of tight ends that can hurt you over the middle of the field, can hurt you with some of the intermediate stuff. I think the backs are going to be solid. I think the backs will be pretty good out of the backfield. A lot of you guys are going to look at this and say, how is Zachariah Branch not this guy? I understand he's explosive, but is he going to be able to do the things to a defense that Noah Thomas is? I don't think so. He can hurt you with some end-around stuff. He can hurt you in the screen game, but we also thought Dominic Lovett was going to be that guy for Georgia the last 2 years, and he never really got to that extent. I do think with Zachariah Branch on the field, it only helps Noah Thomas be this guy that we're talking about, a down-the-field threat that can not only just stretch the field, and you'll see like the ability here on this clip to be able to go up, catch the football in traffic against Auburn, reel it in for a touchdown, working on 2 defenders. He has that kind of catch radius, has that kind of strength with his hands, his arms to be able to pull the ball down. But then later in the game, you see him take this slant. Yes, it's not the best play by the DB, but the speed to be able to take it to the house. So this is not a lumberer at 6'6" that we're normally used to seeing. This is a guy that if he does get a little bit of space, it's going to be tough to catch from behind, so can still stretch the field in that way. I just think that at his size, he does a little bit more than some people give him credit for. He's a little more loose and athletic than he gets credit for, and he's got those hands to be able to work you over the middle of the field in traffic or down the field in traffic and break your defense down. You got to keep safeties deep to be able to help with this young man, or you're going to be in trouble. And then you take some of those other weapons we mentioned that Georgia's going to have, not to mention most likely a mobile quarterback that can hurt the backside of your defense. He should see some coverage that's going to be favorable that he can hurt you down the field. So my number 5 skill position player transferring into an SEC team, I know it's within the SEC, is going to be Noah Thomas heading to Georgia. Number 4, and I think this is probably going to be one that a lot of folks don't like for some reasons because there's not a lot of glitz and glamour, and it's not one that I think a lot of people are going to look at and say, ooh, yeah, it's a lot of fun to talk about. But number 4, and I'm going to explain why, is going to be Luke Haas, tight end from Arkansas, coming over to Ole Miss. Now, I think if you have paid attention to this podcast for a while and you've listened to us operate, you've heard us talk about the fact that whether it's Jeff Lebby or Lane Kiffin, this offense unlocks when the tight end position is good. We've seen that with Caden Priestcorn this past year. Probably a big reason Ole Miss didn't have a spring game or didn't want to. One of those guys was Daquan Wright last year, and he really came on towards the end of the season. And yes, I'm saying another tight end came on towards the end of the season, and I really don't give a shit because if you watch the tape, you'll be able to go see it for yourself, just like you should have on the last guy. But Daquan Wright's going to be able to help this team. Well, now you plug in a Luke Haas, who's 6'3", 241. He's a little bit lighter, plays heavier than I think he is. Like, he'll get after you. Watch him seal the defense here on an outside run. And then the ability to take a football, catch it, get down the field, and score. And then I love the fact that he's not going out of bounds here as well. So it'll give you that little extra physicality that a tight end is going to be able to give you. Like, he's got the total package in there. Is he the best blocker you're going to find at tight end? No. He's not like some of these Iowa kids coming out. But at the same time, he's not going to shy away from it. And I think he gives you enough to be effective with that. So now you can have 2 tight ends, both athletic enough to stretch the field, that you're forcing a defense to play bigger personnel against. And we know everything else that Ole Miss is going to have and how they're going to operate that offense, that they're going to be able to be dangerous in that way. So I love the fit for Luke Haas in this system. And it might only end up being 28, 32, 36 catches on the season. But him being on the field from a personnel perspective and being able to help, let's just be real, an offensive line that hasn't been great the last few years, if he can add a little physicality there, if he can give you a little more oomph in the run game or even help in pass pro, that's a bonus, I think, for the Ole Miss offense. But he now gives you a 1-2 punch at tight end where both can be on the field at the same time, give you some formation issues. He's a move character, so now you can have him outside the box. You can have him in. He's not afraid to mix it up, block in different ways. So you got the split zone capabilities. You've got him to be able to pull and run maybe a little bit of one-back counter if you want to. So a lot of different things can take place when he's on the field, and he has the ability to get past the defense. So I think it's just a wonderful fit for everything that he's going to force a defense to be, and then what he can give you as a player as well. Enough speed to get to the perimeter, turn up field and stretch a play, get past a linebacker, maybe a safety, physical enough to help you at the line of scrimmage. He's got good ball skills as well. I like his hands. So I just think it's a great fit for what Ole Miss is and what they needed and what this helps them be once he's on the field with that football team. So Luke Haas is going to be number 4, tight end going from Arkansas to Ole Miss. And yes, I know we're talking transfers into the SEC, and all these guys have already played in the SEC. They're just going to different teams, but that's kind of what it is. All right, guys, you might have caught me with Richard Hendricks over the weekend, breaking some of that Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American cards. If you're trying to get back into the hobby like I have with my boys, and maybe you're looking to buy some baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, maybe even Pokemon, WWE, UFC. Don't spend all the money on all the boxes because it's going to be a lot. Go to my friends at Fanatics Live. Just get the app right here, Fanatics Live. You'll click that. You'll go in, and you're going to see a lot of different things that you can go check out. A lot of different breaks that are going to be happening. There they are. Look, and they just go and go and go. You go into one of these breaks, you pay for a team, you pay for a player. It's going to be a fraction of the cost to get an actual box of some of these cards that are out now. It's expensive to keep up with the hobby, but Fanatics Live is making it easy for you to get in and find different ways to be a part of the hobby at a fraction of the price. So go to the link right here. We have it right there at the bottom of the show, fanaticslive.com. You go in via Pizza Pulls, sign up now. You get $25 to get started. That could get you a team in a break or maybe 2 teams in a break, and you're off and running. Go chase some of that Topps Chrome football that's out now, the Bo Nix, the Caleb Williams, the Jaden Daniels. You got Topps Series 1, where you can go after some of those patch or autograph cards. I pulled that Johnny Bench a couple weeks ago. It's pretty sweet. So you can get all that done and more at fanaticslive.com. We appreciate everything they do for us. Go check them out today. All right, number 3 is going to be another intra-SEC transfer. It's going to be Kevin Coleman from Mississippi State going to Missouri. Number 3 last year had a big season. Because Mississippi State wasn't a great football team, I don't think a lot of people took notice. You're talking about a guy that last year, 74 catches, 932 yards, 6 touchdowns, 42 punt returns for 270 yards, 16 kickoff returns for 153. Last year on punt returns, his career punt returns, 42 for 270. Guy's got 100 catches for 1,294 yards, 8 touchdowns in his career, 10 carries for 36 yards. He's just explosive. And I think you actually could have even debated his teammate going to LSU as being that important. It's just that I think LSU has some other weapons in which that position might not be as important. Specifically, their best receiver going to be playing in the slot a lot and just don't need it as much. However, Kevin Coleman is, I think, big enough to be able to work all portions of the field. He can work inside. He can work the intermediate stuff. He can get you down the field. The catch and run is going to be there with this guy. And think about what Missouri is and think about what Missouri loses. So you're going to get a lot of RPOs. You're going to get a lot of play actions. So you're going to have longer developing routes. And this is a young man that on double moves and with extra time is going to be able to get past the defense. Missouri, and what they're going to run also, a lot of screens. They're going to be a screen team. So he's going to have opportunities with a lot of quick throws to be able to get you yards after the catch. And I think he can make you pay that way. I understand he's not super big, super physical, but also you're going to need someone with a new quarterback now in this system. And with a couple of weapons gone at wide receiver, now I think the offensive line, even though they lost Mimbu, is still going to be fine. Love Norfleet back at tight end. That's going to be great. But you lose Nate Noel in the backfield. So do you want to offset some of those handoffs with quick, high percentage throws? I say probably. I think there's a good chance that that's going to happen. So Kirby Moore probably wants a couple of guys that he can say, hey, even if we don't have the backs that we want to lean on 30, 35 times a game, if we get a couple receivers that we can quick shot a couple of two, say 6 to 7, 8 times a game, we can offset our actual run game into extending that run game to different kind of plays. And even if it's a handoff around in or some kind of an orbit motion, I think Kevin Coleman helps you that way. I think he's explosive, and based on what Missouri loses, not just at wide receiver, but at running back, quarterback, that now, and even if you have a little bit more of a powerful quarterback run game, you're going to want somebody to be able to help you on play action down the field, be able to assist with that, and be able to RPO off some of that. And I think Kevin Coleman's a perfect guy to do it. So, again, not saying that he is the best or one of the 4 best or 2 or 3 best receivers that's going to an SEC team out of the portal. It's just with what he's going to be capable of doing, his skill set, what he's going to add to Missouri with how they operate. I think it's one of the better fits as far as how it's going to help that offense operate and potentially help that football team win games. All right, number 2, skill position player transferring into the SEC. We finally go outside the SEC and then into the SEC. And we're going to go Eric Singleton, Georgia Tech, coming to Auburn. This kid is just super explosive. You'll see him here running the seam, be able to watch him split these defenders and just pull away late to go attack the football when the DBs had an angle on it. I mean, honestly, right there, you're looking at a guy that just gives you that speed to be able to hurt you over the top. He's that kind of a player. And I understand that the stature, again, is not like what a Noah Thomas is, but he is still someone who can get you over the top, still someone that has, I think, enough of a build to be able to work the middle of the field, break a couple of tackles every now and then, and be that every down receiver that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. Then he's going to give you this. Here comes the end around, the explosive capability to be able to turn north and south and go find the end zone, run past DBs, run past linebackers and safeties, because he has that kind of juice. That's really the main word that I think of when I think of Eric Singleton. It's just juice. The guy can absolutely fly. I think he can hurt you in a lot of different ways. You see him come across the middle of the field. You see him take screens, turn those into explosive plays. And as you saw a little bit earlier, a guy that can hurt you over the top and get you with explosive plays that way. He's a do-it-all Swiss Army knife in this offense. And if I understand that a lot of people believe that Jackson Arnold should be on this list. And if we're just going skill set, I do think Jackson Arnold's on this list. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Jackson Arnold needs a lot of coaching. This young man is someone who's going to make Jackson Arnold's life a lot easier and potentially be a major reason that Jackson Arnold ends up being one of the bigger impact transfers across all of college football. But Jackson Arnold's not ready to just come in, plug in, go and do it with who's ever around him and make that happen. Based off his vision, his reads a year ago, some of that's got to change. And it can't stay the same that it has been, or Auburn's not going to win a lot of football games this year. So I think somebody like Eric Singleton, who can take a couple handoffs a game, who can take a couple quick throws a game, and then can maybe go attack a football deep that might be exactly where it needs to be, He's the one that's going to make life a lot easier on Jackson Arnold. And with a mobile quarterback potentially, pretty good run game. I mean, I almost went with one of those tackles that Auburn's getting here because they haven't had the luxury of that position being B+ or A- in a while. But I decided to hold off on that and not go 2 Auburn guys on this list. And we'll just go offensive lineman next week of the top 5 that we like coming in. But Eric Singleton, because of everything he offers, and then whose life he's going to be able to make easier, and where that talent ceiling is, could be the icing on the cake for Auburn to have a better season than a lot of people believe that they will. Don't forget about our friends at Blue Delta Jeans, the most comfortable denim you'll ever wear. Had mine on up in Lexington over the weekend, taking in Auburn at Kentucky. Fun atmosphere, fun time. But you know what? I could dress those things up Friday night, heading over to Tony's Steakhouse, or dress them down, heading to the game and enjoy myself on Saturday and not have to feel like I'm going to get overheated or they're going to be too constricting. These things are flexible, stretchy, breathable, and they're going to look good on you because they're cut just for you, made just for you. So go to BlueDeltaJeans.com right now. See what they can do for you. It's the only pair of jeans you're ever going to want. You're never going to want another pair of jeans. This is the only denim you're going to want for the rest of your life. Blue Delta Jeans. Go to BlueDeltaJeans.com. They can fit you digitally. You can also go gift certificate for somebody if you're looking for a birthday present or maybe something else coming up, a special occasion in somebody's life. Blue Delta Jeans can get it done for you. They've gotten it done for me and many others. Go to BlueDeltaJeans.com and tell them you heard about them right here on Cube Show. All right, finally, and this was an easy one. John Mateer, quarterback coming from Washington State to Oklahoma. Guys, studying this young man, I still don't think that a lot of people nationally understand what Oklahoma's getting here. There's a lot of Baker Mayfield in this kid, and it's not a comp. It's just the swag, the ability to be able to move around, the throws off platform, on the run. I mean, watch this kid move, dance around the pocket here, and then deliver this football down the field. I mean, that's what he's going to give you on a regular basis. There's a couple of plays here, too. I mean, you're talking about somebody who ran 178 times for 826 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns last year. 224 of 347, 65% on the season passing. He had 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, this is a guy that just can break you down in a lot of different ways. Super explosive. I think the biggest impact transfer from a skill position perspective, maybe overall, that's coming into the Southeastern Conference. And there are a few others that I think people are going to want to talk about that may be ranked ahead of him or their stars coming out of high school were better than his. I don't really care about that. I'm looking at what this guy offers with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, coming with him, what he's going to be able to do, what he's going to be able to be. He is going to be lightning. And a 3,000-yard passer a season ago on top of that 826 yards rushing. Watch him step up in the pocket here and just rip this football. I don't think people realize the arm strength that this young man has. Now, is it all positive? No. Does he rush the football at times? Yes. Does he see windows open that aren't occasionally? And you'll get some of the throws that are a little bit inaccurate. And I think that's because he moves so much. Like, watch that back foot come off the ground and he kind of whips it around a little bit. His delivery has a little bit of Will Levis in it at times, but he's got a big arm to make up for any kind of technical or fundamental mistake that he might make. There's times that you saw Washington State last year go empty and literally run duo or inside zone. So he can add a little bit of a power element with that while you're spreading that defense all the way out and then trying to get 2-3 yards up the middle. So I just think he's a super dangerous player. I like him a lot more after going back and studying him again last week, making sure that this is where I wanted him to be when we rank these players. But there are a couple of others coming into Oklahoma that I think people would look at and say, oh, you got to talk about this guy. You talk about that guy. That's great. There might be an offensive lineman for Oklahoma that's on our list next week. But John Mateer, with the ability to ad lib, which if the offensive line doesn't take big strides, that part of his game might be massive for the Sooners this upcoming season. And the ability to push the ball down the field. I look at that offense last year for Washington State, what they did, how they operated, and I think about a guy like Deion Burks maybe playing in that system with someone who can actually get them the ball like John Mateer could. Wow. He could have an amazing season. So some of the other things do have to come into place if this is going to be like reach its ceiling, reach its capacity. But the overall skill set for Mateer, the fact that he's playing with his same offensive coordinator, I think pushes this way ahead of a situation like, say, a Jackson Arnold. Plus, he's got the production and he lacked the mistakes. So there's a little bit of a gunslinger in there. You're going to get a little bit of risk with all the reward. But at the end of the day, it's going to work itself out. And I think this young man has a chance to have a huge year in Norman. So Noah Thomas heading to Georgia, big physical wide receiver, what they need down the field to help some of the play action and help some of the intermediate game that they're good at. Luke Haas, another talented tight end that gives Ole Miss 2 that can then formation you, move, do different things to be able to keep you off balance and run their offense exactly the way that they want to. Kevin Coleman going to Missouri, losing big-time receiver prowess, losing running back prowess, new quarterback in system, a guy who can make your life easy in a lot of different ways and has the juice to turn screens and quick throws into home runs and can help you in the return game. Eric Singleton, Swiss Army knife going to Auburn, real juice, screen game, handing the football, catch the ball down the field, knows how to locate the football on deep routes, just an explosive player all around. And then John Mateer at Oklahoma rounds out our top 5 SEC skill position transfers. These are transfers coming into SEC teams this season. So that's what we've got for you today. Next week, like I said, we'll go to the linemen, we'll stay on offense, and then we'll go to defense, and we'll give you those as well. Got to watch the film on them first, though, right? If we don't do that, there's no reason in even talking about this. And by the way, you can get this shirt at Roback. Use code COLD20 and save 20% on all your Roback orders. They got some new Auburn stuff in that's pretty sweet. You saw that last week. The thick hoodie that Roback sells is the most comfortable pair of clothing that I maybe have in my closet right now. Go check that out. Please come back next week. Subscribe if you don't mind. We love the feedback. We love the interaction with you guys at Cube Show on Instagram and Twitter. Find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Find us on Spotify and on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. We're back next week.